There we go. Hello, and welcome to the Stream of Chaos. My name is Dave, and I will be your keeper of arcane lore for this session of Call of Cthulhu. Today we are continuing our playthrough of, books backwards, The Two-Headed Serpent, our Pulp Cthulhu campaign, and you can get your own copy of this book from Chaosium.com. You can find all of our collected VODs over on the Chaosium YouTube channel, and we do stream live each Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, because time zones and similar such.
I think it's 5 p.m. now.
Is it 5 p.m.?
I think so, yeah.
5 p.m. Pacific, due to yet more time zones and also daylight savings and wonderful things. Thank you to Roll20 and Sirenscape for being tools which we use to improve these games. And as we return, you will notice we are down a player. Jackson is at ConquestCon this weekend, where a few of us will also be later on heading over there just after this stream. So we will be down a doctor. So if you can keep the wounds to yourselves and refrain from injecting strange substances for just one session,
I don't promise anything.
Yeah, sure.
No promises.
So last week, the four of you collectively traveled to Colorado, where Mr. Smith has a remote sort of cabin retreat for scouts and sort of summer camp, things like that. And you took a little bit of downtime, a chance to heal, and as you've spent a week out on the lakes training and preparing for what comes next, we do pick back up after Lieutenant Carter's looked into a bit of, the changes that are going on with their lizard-like nature. Minnie has begun to rebottle the second mind that's taken up space in her brain, and Hubert's begun to get a better sense for his prodigious size and order some new suits so that he can look great doing it. We'll hum around the table and reintroduce each of our heroes and then get back in and see what you want to do next. Art, you want to kick us off?
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, I'm Art. You're welcome. I'm Art, and I'm playing Lieutenant Aries Carter. Sorry, I was just, I have a naming system for all of my notes now. I think, according to my notes, we're up to episode 25, but each of them gets a little chapter number before them, so we're about to move on to, chapter 5. But when we're in New York, they don't get that. They just get their episode title, but it's also we get where we are, and then a little note. So for Iceland, it was Iceland Snake Facility, and now we are New York City Summer Camp the Second. So, apologies. But yes, I play Lieutenant Aries Carter, Them Fatale, and all-around a deadly human who is slowly but surely turning into a serpent.
Woohoo! More on that to come. Up next, James.
Absolutely. My name is James. I am playing Hubert, the big man with a big heart. He has been enhanced by serpent person potions. He was strong enough to handle the strongest potion, and now he is even stronger than that. Yes, I am trying to adjust to my new way of being now that I am bigger and stronger than most humans, but I am still determined to try and not fall to the ways of the serpent person and to try and do whatever I can to protect the others, because they need me.
That's right. You still want to, you're still the bastion. You're the bulwark for the party.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. And finally, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm playing Wilhelmina St. Clair. Sharp of mind, sharp of wit, and sharp of brain claws now that she's got a passenger who is a lizard, and we'll have to get that under control at some point. That's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it's just a free friend.
It's fine.
It's terrific.
Just never alone.
The sounds of group denial. All right, fantastic. So, as stated last time, you've already spent about a week out here in Colorado. So beautiful, remote setting, forests, lakes, gun ranges, rope courses, all sorts of things. Hubert's made a trip or two into town to resupply and stare at himself, frozen for a moment in the mirror as he reaffirms who he is, what he's become, and then ding-a-ding into the store to buy the pieces that he needs. Yeah, he looks great. So it's been a little while. You are mostly healed up. Hubert, I think we established that you had something absurd, like 42 health or whatever. So you've got maybe a few more beats to go, but you've also got the most health to begin with. So you're fine, but still a few more days before you get back to 100%. What would the three of you like to be getting up to? Now, Sam is still around, and we've conveniently got his character sheet in Roll20, so we can have him make a roll if needed. But functionally, I think what he'll throw himself into is He had some adjustments he wanted to make to his flying machine. There's also general maintenance of the party, making sure none of you keel over and die. And he had some serums and things that he was looking into. So we can kind of leave him conveniently in a closed door laboratory, and then Jackson can roll some numbers next time he comes back.
So I was actually thinking that now might be the time that I really go for a couple of heartfelt role-playing scenes with Sam. Dave, if that's all right.
That's
Okay.
fine, but you can play both sides of it, Jim. I'll
No,
be
I think
Lancet.
All right, yeah. I think that we're going to be looking at all of the occult dream options. It's a little bit, while the doctor is away, we get to start looking at the weird stuff. That said, I myself am not really the weird stuff expert. I expect that I'll be doing a lot of hanging nearby, ready to grapple people if they go crazy.
Yeah, just ready to sit on people if they lose their marbles.
Yeah, it's a good tactic.
Yeah.
We were. Sorry, I'm just like hit me what we were talking about, which was some practicing of dream hopping and then an eventual invasion into, was it Rose's dreams that we were going into? And
Eventual.
explicitly with with like having Carter do a little bit of dream hopping so that if necessary there can be mind bullets.
Yes,
Also, actually,
Amazing.
but
and
Rose is very powerful, and we're very, very scared of her.
yeah, so a little a trial run might not hurt. You also, we do have Sam, so what we can also do is leave him in charge of people sitting, and then Jim can dream jungle with you as well. Up to basically you can assign him as needed.
Well, because that's something that would actually be very helpful. As I've taken someone in a dream with me before. I've taken Hubert with me.
You have,
and I've gone into Hubert's dreams, but it would be interesting to see if I could take two.
Yeah,
I also think that. Well, and I want to be careful not to infringe on the copyright of a certain Mr. Nolan while we're going down this route.
I won't say the word.
Okay, but if we are jumping into somebody's dreams who, from what we can tell, has a pretty good understanding of how all of this works, they might have some kind of defenses in place. We might hit dream security or something, or at least
which I've worked with before. I've been chased by a large snake in a dream before. It tried to eat me. That was when I jumped into the man's chest before spiking the egg.
That's the closest you've gotten to stepping inside the mind of something that's like touched the mythos, and even then, it was still something that was at its core human, just heavily polluted and reincarnated and some other nonsense. And that was pretty alien compared to the dreams you've seen in others. So you would expect that, stepping into the mind of something that is truly inhuman will be different and maybe more dangerous.
I wonder if we could do some dream strolling to some of the individuals at Chaosium as a practice run.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, we do have a whole supply chain here. We've got people, all of whom we trust. We've also, if we are going to be doing cross-species dream hopping, maybe it's worth jumping into Lancet or something like that as a trial run, seeing if we can just sort of get acclimatized to that sort of thing. Otherwise, it could be a good excuse for me to buy a dog.
Oh, Hubert, I appreciate your caution. If we are going to be doing practice runs, I would like them to be practical on people who we can actually use, potentially with outcomes that are actually useful. So the mob or Chaosium or human individuals at Chaosium.
It's a fun little game. Because we want to, if I like your suggestion, Miss Sinclair, that we go after people who might have some useful information.
Human, but...
Yes,
related.
Or people that we're not entirely sure about. I don't think that we should go after Meadham or his brick right now.
No.
I don't think either of those are sensible, and I think they have enough understanding of various things that might be concerning. But
and I don't think Meadham's brick has anything in his brain.
Well,
Sure
don't be so sure. Just because someone's big and brutish
I'm not sure
doesn't
Meadham's
necessarily.
human.
I'm pretty sure Meadham is human. It would not make...
The brick isn't.
Doesn't...
Well, the brick is human plus.
The brick definitely had a growth point.
Human plus.
I think if we pick someone, it should be someone that we don't suspect. For the first trial, the first test, we pick someone who isn't enhanced, for want of a better word. What's the term? Metahuman or something like that, just to infringe more IP.
Well, I have a sneaking suspicion that sorry, I'm trying to remember the name. Shapiro is the one that.
Oh, sorry.
No, not Canning. No. Our handler.
Gonsalves?
Oh, Gonzalez, the
Yes.
ow, yes.
Because there's a solid chance that Gonsalves is in fact human, but there's also a chance that he's not. And getting into his dreams is one way of doing about it. He has worked with us relatively closely, so having the 4 of us, 3 of us, 2 of us, however many, popping into his dreams is hopefully not going to be too astronomically confusing for the poor man. He might be able to just fob that off as an odd kind of dream, given that, we should be back in town.
Well, that's pretty well what happened with the mob.
Last
they did a
I
mob jump.
checked, and also looking at our good keeper's face, looking into the mind of God, I suspect that we're onto something here.
No. Well, we'll circle around to my thing. You guys could.
Gonsalves?
Yes.
Is that who we're talking about?
Gonzalez.
Gonsalves.
We'll know for sure once we get inside his dreams.
Exactly.
Well, exactly.
Hey,
we'll
it's
know
me.
pretty quickly. We'll
We
know fairly
saw
quickly.
him. We saw him at the warehouse. If we want information about what's going on there, I suspect
That's
that is I'm not going to say it's risk-free, because it certainly isn't, but it is a lower risk human, theoretically, unsullied, potentially, object that we can use as a test before we go on and do anything more risky. And it will still provide us with some useful information. And it isn't odd, as I said, for the 4 of us to pop up in a dream of someone who's been working closely with us. If we pop into Meadham's dreams, I suspect he may be wily enough at this point to work out something odd is happening. And Canning, I'm not even entirely certain what we'd find there. And I think that's worth doing before we go into anything more alien. Also, if Gonsalves does turn out to be not entirely human, we'll work that out quite quickly as well, and that's information that's helpful.
See how deep it goes with Cataseus, whether it's just something that happens at the top or whether it's spread out through the ranks. Similar to what I experienced when I jumped into a mob dream. It's they often don't necessarily recognize you. They may not even see you. It's interesting. It's not just because it's their dream doesn't mean that they immediately spot you and know that you're there. You can just kind of quietly keep to the side. It's not an immediate kind of, they know that you're here.
Sort of like an extra or a...
Not even that, not even an extra. It's more like you can be an observer. You don't have to engage.
Well, on the off chance we need to, I'd like to get a feeling of what
Yes.
that would be like. So yes, but we're looking for information directly.
Yes.
Then I think Gonsalves might be a first good shot, and if that goes successfully, then we can look at others. If we want a alien test subject, one that we know has spent a fair amount of time around humans and pretending to be one, Bresciani skin on might be a good first step before we take on the creature that is wearing the skin of Rose. So
Yes,
Rose skin
Bresciani's
on.
skin on is much higher on the scale, but lower than Rose, that's for damn sure. I would like to find out a little bit more about what's going on there, because I do believe that we may actually have an unlikely ally in some parts of the mob. I don't expect they know entirely what's going on if Bresciani has been. I don't think the Bresciani superiors are aware of what has happened with him and his skin. We may, in fact, have some unlikely allies there.
I think Gonzalez sounds like a good option.
But yes, Gonzalez, I think, is the first stop. How about a nap?
Yeah, I guess so. We'll empty out one of the cabins. We'll make hot chocolates. Try and get a whole.
I'm gonna rap on Sam's door and just say, Sam, do you have any tinctures that are helpful for putting one in a restful mood? And conversely, do you have anything you can wave under any of our noses? Should we just need a quick revival?
I think the wake up is a gimme. The ghost, I think Sam has some pharmaceutical skill. I think he normally just rolls.
Not necessarily looking
that's-
for actual like sleeping drugs, but just like one of the like relaxants or something like that.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the voice of Sam answering?
that'd be great.
When-
Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, howdy. I sure can help.
It's just like you see it. I'm just looking at this sheet now.
He's from New Zealand.
Can I get it?
Yeah,
Are you
that's
home?
nice.
It's like he's here. He does have pharmacy. He has quite high pharmacy. So yeah. Pills are an absolute gimme. He'll have some sleeping stuff that can take him down. So the thing that prompted a genuine real life sanity roll from me was the train of thought I went through as you guys started talking about dream hopping, and I went, well, you can go to sleep. Let's see, you're going to try me going to New York. The thing is, not everyone around the world is sleeping at the same time. And then I realized I'm going to have to boot up the goddamn time zone converter I use every freaking week to plug in where they are to see if they're asleep when you try. So it's daylight savings, it's time zones, and it's happening in the game. I'm so mad.
I'm so glad that we could give our wonderful keeper IRL sanity rolls.
All right,
Oh,
let's do it. Sam can prompt some drugs. So New York is quite close. There are a couple hours difference. If you go at night, you will hit them as well. But if people are in other places in the world, this can also genuinely, like some people I might just tell you they aren't asleep currently, and you can try again. Now this is over a week spread, so if anything, this might actually let you begin to hone in on sort of where people might be. But with the drugs that Sam has, you can basically brute force yourselves to sleep. Although, imagine like a medicated, sleep is something slightly different than a natural one, so it might, shake things up a little.
Yeah, I think we try and go for natural sleep at night to start with. And remembering that Minnie has done this from awake.
Yes. Okay.
So as long as the two of you are natural asleep, and Minnie can just kind of come on in, collect, and off we drop.
You went into your own mind awake and sort of had a bit of a trot around there. You weren't fully in the dream state. That was more just a way of visualizing your own mind palace or whatever, for lack of a better word. This is slightly different, but yes, you are fairly in control of your sleep patterns. Okay. So as night falls, and Sam can join to take lookout. Are the three of you gathering in one of the cabins on like pull out cots to fall asleep, or are you going to allow me to wander between the cabins and collect you once you fall asleep?
No, I think all being in the same place near. I suspect we are near wherever the medical supplies happen to be. Like we'll put ourselves in easy access should anything go wrong. Sam's ability to wake us up and to calm whatever's going on is very important.
Okay.
If I may, I think just to purely make things difficult and add a little flavor, I come in and we're all ready for the plan, and I bring a 1920s tape recorder with whale noises that need to be changed every 30 minutes. And I have to be in like full pajamas, and I snore horrendously. We have a good crack at it for the first hour, and then decide that I need to be one room across. So I'll be next door.
I was gonna ask if Hubert would get like, I imagine Hubert's a bit of struggles to fall asleep the night before Christmas. I was wondering if this might have a similar thing of you like sitting in bed, being like, okay, and now time to sleep, and time to sleep.
I think that the first time I keep deciding that I'm in a dream already, and like getting up and wandering around the lake. I'm not realizing.
All right.
And then the window is open, and Minnie's just like, get back to bed.
Lie down.
You look so different in the dream, and then no, that's great. I love it.
Okay.
Ares is military and fall asleep anyway.
Fall
asleep standing up if they have to. Yeah.
Minnie just loves a nap.
Stole
Nap
my
queen.
line.
Okay. All right. So one by one.
So long as there's a book somewhere, like face, chest, lap, just needs to be a book in the vicinity.
Yeah.
Out like a light.
Exactly.
So one by one, you each drift off to sleep with Sam posted up by the door, going over his own notes, a pile of, strange tinctures and things nearby so that he is to hand as needed. He will keep the watch through the night, and if he detects anything going wrong, he will attempt to wake you and just be on hand to help as needed. Carter has lain down on sort of like an impromptu, like one of the cots drawn from one of the other rooms, meaning I presume this is in your room or something, so it's on your own bed, and Hubert's been relegated to one of the side pieces so that his snoring, while it still shakes the foundations of the cabin, doesn't wake everyone else immediately. The moon is high over the lake, and outside it slowly begins to grow quiet. Minnie, you're the first to realize you're in a dream, and it happens almost instantly. Where would we find you on a night like this?
Back in my apartment, pre-break-in, before I had to kind of security everything to shit, and just having a cup of tea and reading a nice fiction book, nothing about lizards, and that's how I know it's a dream. I feel like it's been a while since I've just been able to read for the joy of it.
You've also, you've gotten such a firm control on your own mind now and on the nature of dreams that you're able to find you can glean insight from the book that you're looking at, even though the words sort of shift and smear across the page, but on focus you can force them into a more recognizable shape, and they're kind of similar to Narcal almost when they smear. There's been a pretty clear adjustment to your apartment, and this reflects your new state of mind. Every gap in the floorboard has been corked over. There are bars along the windows, and there is a heavy chain lock across the door leading out into what would be the landing. This is because you are not the only occupant of your mind, and as you thumb through the book and try to read, you will occasionally hear the rattle of chains on the other side as Atos, the serpent person that shares your brain, tries to gain access or at least begin to pull himself back together. You actually have gone to some extreme lengths to separate Atos's mind so that he can't reconvene. So you probably have a lockbox underneath your bed that has another portion of it, and one of your bedside table drawers rattles at one point as something tries to sneak out of there, and you just jam it back shut. What would you like to do?
Toss the book at the door, shut it, you're not coming, and stand up and take a step, hopefully immediately into Carter's dream.
Okay. Previously, you've been taught by the cat that slept outside your doorway to find seams between the dream and slip sort of out of it and into a larger sense of space. You can easily do this now.
I think the same is between two of my bookcases. There's a slight gap.
So move
and
up
it's
to
just
it.
a single step from the reading chair through the bookcases, and hopefully into Carter's dream.
Okay.
I know Carter quite well. I know them fairly well by this point. And I think they'd appreciate the precision.
You turn sideways and slide through. Can you give me a power roll?
I can.
Okay. You're able to shift sideways, and it's as if you jolt out from here and onto a hotel hallway landing. It is a sort of blank, almost white space with a long corridor and doors innumerable on either side, descending completely into the distance. You begin to walk along them. You can't hear your own footsteps, and occasionally have to look down to actually re-visualize yourself, and you'll see that when you don't focus, you do begin to sort of slip away or almost transform your appearance. And eventually you come to where you think you might find Carter's door. It's a second sense that's drawing you there. The thing that's strange about Carter's door is that it's already open. All the others are shut, and they all have different shapes, but Carter's door is slightly ajar.
Well, if this is what they were hoping for, then that makes sense.
Okay. You turn and step inside and enter Carter's dream. Art, what might we see inside?
I would say it's less of a... The immediate is there, you can't see anything. There is... there would be the smell of wet earth and gunpowder. And it would it would be hard to tell whether it was a taste or a smell, but there's iron in the air or something like it. If you move through, your eyes adjust a little, and it's maybe like wooded area, maybe it's a jungle, maybe it's, you know, moving through an urban environment, but there's something like cold, damp that every now and again like brushes against your face or your skin, like, you know, wet foliage or someone's washing or something like that. And there's the drumming sound of like something like a distant kind of rat-tat-tat every now and again from like distant. That's probably mostly what you get as you enter.
Okay. When you step inside and begin to look for Carter, your eyes adjusting and eventually getting more of a sense of this contained but ultimately infinite and adjustable space. Ares, where are you found in this dream and what state are you in?
I'm standing in the middle of a pool of blood that is like the size of a sort of a large puddle, like sort of more like, you know, one of those like marsh lake puddle things where you like look at it and you're like, that could be ankle deep, that could be a sinkhole. Not sure. And Ares is standing in the middle of it, feet like just under the water, like the sole of the shoe would just be under, but not much else. And they're just staring out over, again, kind of like a black nothing. But all of the like the sounds and the smells are stronger. And they just seem to be like looking with a 1,000-yard stare at nothing. Their back would be to you, they'd be looking away.
Right.
As the last thing I'll ask is, as Minnie approaches and either circles around you to see you or as you begin to turn, are you human or are you serpent?
Neither and both.
Mm-hmm.
The eyes are serpentine, definitely. Maybe the nose is a little less prominent. There's very fine lines of scales all the way up the side of the face and like around. They still have hair. They still have like mouth, nose, eyes.
Humanoid.
Their ears are probably a little bit more like pushed back and like look like they might be like not quite as separate from the skull as they should be. And they absolutely full. The hand the right hand which wields the gun has like scales along, but the hand is still relatively humanoid. The other one is fully like clawed and serpentine. Yeah, actually, so I will say not both eyes. It's just the same, the one. And for that one, the scales have like grown up and around and like across that part of the face more than the other side. So there's sort of like a strange human, but definitively not morphology that's happening. And Carter will turn and just look very calm. Like none of this appears to be disturbing to them.
I'll pass it to the two of you, but I will state, Carter, you are unaware you are in a dream. You have completely forgotten the plan. It is just not there at the moment. This is your reality. I'll pass it to you.
Evening, Carter.
Missing
first things first. Not sure how this goes. Hubert didn't remember last time. We're in a dream. This is a dream you're dreaming. Remember, we were going to be trying some dream walking testing. Anyway, this is it. I'm really here.
you're already here, then I'm awake, aren't I? Is this...
No, dream walking. I'm dream walking. You're dreaming. I'm walking your
Right.
dream. And I don't really know if I'm dreaming. I don't really know. I don't know if I'm dreaming or not. I don't think it matters.
I mean, if you
But you're definitely dreaming.
You say so. I feel very much awake and capable, but...
Well, that's good. I like it when you're awake and capable. Should we collect a Hubert?
Carter, can you give me a power roll at this point to see?
Certainly.
And this is going to scale. Hard will be like kind of full control. A success will be you can kind of...
Oh.
You're genuinely slipping, and as Minnie's not really part of the dream you're currently having, and as soon as she sort of turns to go, let's go fetch Hubert, you kind of re-slip back into where you are. You can't really visualize her or keep control of the sense of what this reality is.
No. Shit.
I think to honor that narratively, I think what sort of happens is that like pool, it almost looks like it draws up, although it does not change size, and begins to like almost like tendrils or like kind of jelly sort of suction into the bottom of the coat and begin to sort of like come up, and Carter sort of begins to sink into this pool. Which again, like you would think it would contract by pulling it. It doesn't. It just sort of like sucks up, and then they begin to sort of like sink down. As they would still be facing Minnie. They just can't see her. And just begins to like sink, and like every few beats, the like tendrils flick up again higher, like to pull down. So eventually, it like hits the face, and then just like disappears under the line, and they're just gone under the water.
We'll circle back. Hubert?
As Carter begins to sort of get wrapped by these tendrils of dark red ichor, you are standing, this is sort of like an isolated puddle along large, barren, shell-shocked land, although it only really solidified when it was in focus. The skies above were this huge, beautiful nighttime display of stars. And as Carter begins to get enwrapped, and Minnie, you for a moment sort of try and bring them back, and then, turn to go and retrieve Hubert, you will actually see the stars slip through the skies as if one of those like time-lapse displays. They begin to fall away on the side of, and inside, as if seeing them from inside a large hemisphere. And as they fall around, they coalesce down to a stream, spin down, and actually descend a trench, like a ladder laying into a trench nearby, move along them, and the sky itself goes through the flap in the tent that you came in. And as it disappears, it clicks shut. Minnie, can you make a spot hidden roll as this happens?
All sounds very good news.
When they coalesced for a brief period, just as they descended the ladder, you saw what could be perceived as the flick of a tail, serpentine in nature, as it went out the gate, and the door out is now shut.
I stored that one away for later. That's okay, I've found other ways out before.
Okay.
And that's what I'm going to try and do.
Is your intent to leave Carter's dream and head back into the sort of neutral space?
No, I wouldn't mind trying to jump directly to Hubert if I could.
Okay. All right. Looking around, you try and find another seam, and can you please give me another power roll? Okay. Last thing we'll see then is Carter, as you describes, of being surrounded by the ichor, and then it coats your face, and Minnie finds a gap and steps through. Something has changed. When you step back out into this neutral space, which you always seem to need to go through to get back, you can see the door that just closed from Carter's is sealed now, and the rather than being this sort of like neutral white area, the entire roof section of it, 1 degree of the space, is black and starry like a night sky, stretching in twin directions in 2 ways. You have a sense of where Hubert's dream is. You also have a sense of where your own is, your sort of base. This sky seems to be stretching towards each of them.
That tail that I saw, do I get the sense that that was Atos?
Serpentine in nature. This seems a little beyond Atos. This seems like something that was already in there.
Yeah. Future problems. Let's go find Hubert.
Hubert? Okay. You walk along, and it's that sense of like each step is a 7-league march. Like you walk forward 1, and the doors go and slide past you rapidly. And then when you step back down, only 1 step taken, you're looking at Hubert. I imagine like an elevator door up to your penthouse is like your sealed one, like one of those beautiful golden Art Deco ones. And Minnie, to get inside, you push the button, and the arm swings down to your level, which for sure just says like dream or lobby or whatever, and then it slides open. And when you step inside the lift and push it to close, you are for a moment sort of surrounded by just darkness. Like when the lift shuts, it's just black. But when it opens again, you step out into Hubert's dream. James, what might we see here?
I'm going to go a little weird with it. I think
Please
that
do.
you open the elevator, and immediately you're looking at like open air, and the sounds of jangling lute music start coming through, and you step out into what looks like a Renaissance fair or something like that. Hubert loves imagining things and escaping into fantasy, and he's dreaming about knights. So you're in like a medieval jousting festival kind of vibe, and there's people bustling about that all seem sort of fairly grey and faceless, as if they're sort of like 2-dimensional flat actors kind of walking about serving food or like doing peasant thing 01. And then wandering through the middle of it is kind of a big Hubert, and he's wearing big bright coloured pantaloons in green and grey and brown, and like a nice doublet, and he's walking around a table that's laden with all kinds of strange food. You can probably see, if you look out, there's like a lake somewhere nearby, and there's like a pirate ship in the distance, and over there's like a desert where cowboys probably are. It doesn't make any sense.
It's like a 10-year-old boy's like power fantasy dream.
Yeah, exactly. It's real. It's real theme park.
How does Hubert see himself in this dream? Is he portrayed as a knight? Is he a jester? Is he someone observing? Is he one of the many wealthy patrons of the contestants?
Does he have hair?
So I think that what it is that every time you look at one of the individuals for too long, they start to really look like Hubert. Like there's a young maiden walking around like looking for knights to chat to, and if you stare too long, you realize it's Hubert in a very pretty dress and a hat, kind of wandering along and stuff like that. He's sort of imagining what he'd be like in all of these different situations. Sort of probably there's kind of one central one, which is him sort of sitting down and I imagine probably pretty close to his own life, which is as some kind of observer or audience member, where he kind of bases out from, but really is sort of jumping into each of them, imagining what it would be like to be all of these different lives.
It's interesting. So Hubert still sort of sees himself as, at his core, an observer and a patron, and this recent stint is only what, a hobby?
I think it's probably that's because it's the area that he's most familiar observing the world from, so can't really get away from it. Whether he considers himself to sort of be in that role or not, I think what it definitely does is it definitely stops him from wholly accepting himself as anything else but a kind of outsider.
Hell yeah. Can I also, if this suits Jen, I could also imagine, I mean, these jousts, there's a number of, beautiful knights that go in one after another, and there's also one huge, like, black armored brute with a massive flail and huge, I imagine, like a serpentine head, and I imagine this is your, like, engorged self, like, thick-necked and massive, and it's still under the visor, but if it were ever lifted up, everyone knows that you would see Hubert's friendly face beneath, but sort of twisted into this huge monstrosity.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
Minnie, you're able to find Hubert, and I think you can keep it sort of vague. Well, it could be you talking to all manner of individual ones as well. It's your dream. It's however you perceive yourself to be. But the two eventually find each other, and as I said to Carter, Hubert, you are not immediately aware that you are in a dream, nor the memory of the plan that the two of you had put together. I pass it over to the two of you.
Minnie, I just have so many questions about jousting. I'm glad that I've found you here. This doesn't at all seem historically accurate. I think one of them's going to come with a gun, and that feels unfair.
It does feel unfair. Hubert, do you remember any conversations we had about something called dream walking?
We have so many conversations. I just tune out most of them.
I thought you might. Well, let's try a different approach, shall we?
You want some food?
No, thank you. How about... Do you know who I think might know a little bit about jousting?
Who's that?
Our handler at Catasegas. Makes sense, right?
Not really, but you tend
We should go see him.
I don't, so if you... Okay, that... We'll have to get there somehow. And then I think there's like a train whistle in the distance and like the hum of steamboat and like hoofbeats as he tries to decide what's going to be the coolest like way to get to... Oh, a plane! No, planes are scary now. The plane sound goes away.
Planes are a bit scary, yes. What if there was just a door?
That sounds excellent to me. Does a door appear?
Hubert, can you give me a power roll, please?
Is it any easier because I haven't told him the truth?
He's still got to pull himself free at the moment.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay.
That's jolly good.
Hubert, you begin to, without a HUD, you're kind of following in Minnie's footsteps. You begin to sort of center yourself and remember a little bit of what you said. You are at least able to separate yourself from the dream and you can kind of believe that like Minnie and your quest to go and find Gonsalves is now your dream, and that's your objective. As long as that holds, you can keep this train of thought. You don't slip back into what you were doing.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Minnie asks about a door, and after a short period, you're able to see a small hatch has appeared, but unfortunately, it is in the center of the Lance run, where two knights on horseback are currently racing towards one another. One is the huge black armored monstrosity bearing down on the other, who I think is a slightly sort of effete, like rose shielded white filigree, and it's Hubert in his finest racing uniform, like beautiful colors and going like the wind. And as the two of them race to crash, their shields raised, their lances lower, and the points set upon one another. Hubert, who do you think comes out on top?
Oh God, I think that the Black Knight would absolutely smash the other one, and it probably as we're approaching in a pretty horrid way, like it's a gory jousting accident, and someone runs forth from the crowd, and it's a motherly Hubert in like a widow's veil already, who collapses over the now dying Hubert Knight, starts going, "Oh, why?"
Hell yeah! The Hubert Knight is knocked to the ground and slain instantly, and as his Hubert mother lies over him wailing, the Black Knight raises the visor and we see Hubert's face beneath it, and he steps forward to the podium on which all the royals and the nobles are sitting watching the thing. And I think they're all dressed in like very modern New York attire. Like this is like kind of the social elite that you so often perform for, Hubert. You so often find yourself at the mercy of. And among them, there is a single figure that is not dressed in the same attire. There is one woman dressed remarkably like a fantasy princess or medieval princess, so beautiful pinks and colors and roses. And as she steps over to bestow a token on the victor, the Black Knight who steps up and raises his lance, she drops a wreath of flowers around it, drops to the point, and this woman is a serpent person. She has long arms that sort of extend out beyond her, beautiful dark green chips of scales all along her skin, and a huge frond that is unlike other serpents you've seen before, that sort of almost frill-neck lizard style raises out behind her and is bedecked with beautiful jewels and colors. Her eyes are these massive black expanses that encompass a significant portion of her face, and in them you see the starry sky. She clearly spots the two of you, and then stepping over, walks like vertically in the Nolan movie that will not be named, straight down the face of the podium and into the hatch, which she leaves open as she departs.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
We should follow that. We should do that. Let's go.
Okay.
I'm not sure I like that.
Can we get past the
Yes. Yes, we can.
It's unfortunately
sure
very intrusive thoughts-ish, and as soon as Hubert goes, can we get past it sort of steps forward to take a defensive point, and then Minnie goes like, it's fine. You have to sort of like...
I'm sure he means well. I'm sure he just looks scary and actually has a very kind heart.
But the two of you are able to move past them, drop down through the doorway and back into that like liminal space between. This time it is completely darkened. The roof is like a starry sky, but all of the white walls and floors are more of the same, sort of black expanse with the occasional dotted door, and all of the doors are unique, sort of reminiscent of the person on the other side of them, but the entire neutral space has been turned to black night. Where do the two of you wish to go?
We've got to be behind one of these doors. Do we just start opening them at random?
No.
Okay.
That's a very bad idea.
You could also return and try and wrestle Carter forth from their dream again.
That was going to be the plan. I think getting to Gonsalves' dream is all well and good, but the main purpose of the exercise is to carry people.
Okay.
So we're going to let's see if we can bring Carter along. Carter's always good company for this sort of exercise, don't you think?
Of course. Carter probably knows a lot about jousting.
Yes. Probably.
Yeah.
Military history and all that. Luckily, I know exactly which door.
Okay. Find them.
Minnie, you walk a few short steps and the doors fly past you and you arrive again at Carter's. Your heart's beginning to pound a little bit. You're getting a feeling of like a clock ticking somewhere or a sand falling through a timer. You feel you are being watched, and you feel as though it's encompassing and sort of almost beginning to be oppressive. By the time you get back to Carter's, everything's being done with a little bit of a rush as you sort of push the door open and try and step inside as swiftly as possible. Carter, when we re-enter your dream, it's probably changed, as they so often do, sort of sliding between different memories that you'll barely remember in the morning. What I'd like you to fold in, however, is you are meeting with someone very powerful, and with whom you are, for the moment, treating with some degree of respect. What might we see?
I suspect this is. I'll go with my original, just to tweak what's inside. There is a completely black space again, with an overhead spotlight coming from nowhere. That rings around a large, solid, teak desk with that green leather, matte writing insert in it. A big leather chair in which sits someone who is absolutely coded as a high-ranking general. Lots of medals, lots of stars, lots of hips. I should know what outfits look like. I don't. It's fine. It's buttons and stuff and things. The color is difficult to discern. You'd expect it to be potentially sort of like that olive color of a lot of modern military, but it sometimes reflects more of that real like bright red. Sometimes it is a darker navy. Sometimes it is a sort of like it shifts to being like a red and black with a bit more like fur to it. Like, it is hard to tell what country this general would be from. Mm-hmm. The implication being Carter has been a soldier and an officer for a while, but has also done mercenary work a fair amount. And maybe there's a little bit more of the questionable work for hire than they tend to let on directly. But they are standing to a sort of relaxed attention behind the desk, hands behind their back. They don't have their coat on. They are in more of like a military suit, like a uniform.
Dress uniform.
A dress uniform, yeah. The dress uniform itself, this one, again, it's hard to tell like the color or the style, but it does appear to be crisp, sharp, and on the darker side, potentially black, potentially dark navy, potentially gray. It's hard to tell. They have a slightly askew, again, very neat beret, because that is a vibe that I want here. Yes. And the weapons, the one thing that would be very, very clear is that the weapons that they have on their side are their weapons. They are like, those are the only things that are clear, colored, and sharp. Is those two, the bayonet and the Mauser, are very much there, present. And they are in conversation with this high-ranking official who is sitting behind the desk in a almost fatherly but not kind of vibe. That very sort of official, like, you're not in trouble. I am not dictatorial. I am in charge.
Hell yeah. As the other two step inside for a moment and standing in the darkened space outside the small circle of light, the figure behind the table gestures to a sort of like small pile of manila folder reports and says, the experiment you were a part of, the test, the injection of advanced DNA, this advanced soldier program, how have you found it so far? We'd like to hear your report.
Don't answer that.
Minnie sort of steps out and into the circle, and Hubert, a larger figure, walking through, still sort of brightly colored in one of the outfits from the medieval thing, and the figure solidifies. It's still dressed in the general's attire and is still sitting in a seated position, but this is once again the serpent that you chased from Hubert's dream. She has the massive fronds that are sort of risen up around behind it, and those black, endless star-like eyes. And as her mouth sort of opens just slightly, almost in greeting, the tongue flicks out and then re-enters on the inside. And she grows physically and in taking up sort of mental space. The chair now sort of slides up almost out of focus and becomes more of like a raised dais, and she stands up on top of it, easily 7 or 8 foot tall, very graceful in how she carries herself, with long, fluid limbs, which steeple in front of her and form a sort of like a reverse triangle before her chest, as she takes in the three of you, now standing around the table next to Carter in this tiny click of light. Minnie says, don't answer that.
She doesn't belong here.
Do I reckon, like, is this something that with the previous failure I theoretically would look and not really see either of them? Like, am I still very much in the dream, or are they present in the dream?
Why don't you go ahead and give us a power roll now?
I'm terribly worried the Black Knight's going to show up again.
Don't recall them coming earlier, but you were part of a sort of a being questioned thing. And you remember that enough. You are present in the space, but not really able to separate this dream from another. You were just taking these things as fact and as what is happening, but unable to sort of refocus yourself. You do see this figure before, and to be clear, Carter, your impression of them was a figure of power and respect who you were reporting to. There was no real fear or hostility in it. You genuinely seem to be like, you've been given a direction, let me know.
If Minnie and Hubert are now in the dream and I'm conscious enough that they are there, I think the desk shifts a little. The floor was wood. It is now that, the sort of plasticky tiles of like an office facility, and the desk is more now that like white topped, or possibly even like again, more of like an office desk of maybe like a CEO or someone senior, but it has morphed. The light gets a little bit like almost greener, instead of a yellowy color, and it is very clear that we are in the research area of Caduceus, talking to someone whom Carter still considers to be like an authority that they are not worried about, but the like question about the testing, specifically the fact that this person has like changed into a serpentine figure, and that these two are here would tweak the situation just very naturally. It's that dream thing where everything morphs and you're like, oh, I was here, but now I'm here. And that's like that. I was always here. I was always somewhere else, but then I was always a Caduceus, and that's fine. And I think Carter would say, the tests are going quite well. Thank you for asking. I have not found the changes wanting. The modifications wanting would be changes, modifications. And that's all they would say without further prompting.
Oh, yeah. As Minnie and Hubert step into the light and can address the figure or Carter, the first thing that happens, though, is as the inside of the light begins to yellow and turn to something more reminiscent of Caduceus, the figure's head turns slightly and then says, "No, this won't be suitable, and I shan't be going back." And then just twists an arm with a dynamic but little effort expended, and as the light suddenly opens, you are in the Temple of the Dreamer from so long ago. Sort of, you know, sandstone walls and that huge coiled snake above you, and the creature now fairly recognizable in dimensions as that of the mummy that you rescued some period ago and saw sort of very briefly being interrogated before it freed itself of its external hide, is now standing on like a, you know, stone raised, like very much more officious and seeming and more of her period. She's dressed in like long green robes with golden hems and things, and in one hand she has held loosely a long scepter, and the other hangs limp and open. And I will say though, Carter, your sort of circle of control is still here. Where the spotlight shines, there is sort of a linoleum floor and a table in the center of this sort of ancient temple. A sort of, you know, a point where you still have some grip of where you are being presented.
I think
Good.
if the change is noticeable, like, because again, this is all stuff that we went through and we saw. I think, again, with the kind of complete chill vibes of someone just going, I mean, Escher exists in dreams, fine.
Yeah.
We'll walk fully through the table.
Yep.
Let it sort of dissolve. Snap a salute at this creature that they're still sort of in their dream state is going, this is still a general, but also this is the pharaoh, and go, I notice your crown is missing, Mom. Is there something we can do to assist?
And there's a keen eye. That is exactly what I came to the three of you to talk about. But there's no rush. We have time to speak. You'll know me as Tyrannis. I am who you rescued and delivered to that damned organization some time ago.
Yes.
I've been watching you in a style, keeping track of your minds as they wander. Understand, I have spent millennia in Dream, and this place is as much my home as the waking world. But I come here in peace, and I would speak to you as equals of a sort. And the Dea sort of lowers, and she's standing in front of you in that long hall with the, you know, the columns with snakes on them and all that sort of shit. She's still like 7-8 foot tall, but she's no longer standing on a huge raised platform. And she walks forward to you, and also, Carter, you sort of get the sense of like dismissing the salute, and it's sort of like it falls back into more like a meeting of equals with a veil of one of you is more equal than the rest. But she steps down to the three of you.
Temporary peers.
That's right.
Carter would go back to the comfortable to attention position. Again, the way that they are processing a lot of this is still with that, like, this person is a general or someone in that position. They still demand respect. They are getting essentially now a mission briefing, I think is the way that their brain is processing this. So like,
more something where you'd be expected to give insight. It's like, hey, we're about to put out the plan. I want to hear your thoughts before we act this. Let's make sure not too many people die.
I think in the sphere of like what Carter has control over, a large, or like another like wooden-esque like briefing table would start to like materialize a little, like it's that shimmery kind of holographic style that it's there but it's not. So whether like if people congregate around it, it becomes real. If they don't, it's there as like, you're like, was there a table? I feel like I remember a table in my dream, but also that's impossible because we're all sitting on the moon underwater. So I don't know if there was a table, but I have the feeling of a table. That's kind of where we're at that. And there's like maps that are strewn across it, and little like flag markers. The maps all look like they are done in sort of smeared charcoal, and the map markers, all the flags on them are a little like Dali-esque and melty. None of it is sort of like in Dreamscape. This is all perfectly clear. When you wake up, you're like, that masterpiece I definitely read was bullshit.
Hubert and Minnie, do you come to the table?
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly who this is, and I know that I'm not necessarily dreaming, and I'm across this.
Hubert?
And knowing that this is the creature with the dreaming, there can be a quid pro quo here.
Can I assume that the last vestiges of sort of this dream reality are fading away from me? I'm starting to figure out where I am.
Yeah. You're sort of with Minnie, and again, it's still all a little wobbly, but you are sort of, this is the objective, and you are in the present at least. You don't have much ability to exercise control beyond that, but yeah, you are.
You're aware. myself, and I don't think I'm still in a night adventure. I will, yeah, absolutely. I kind of shake my head. Yeah, I know this is we had something to do in the dream. Follow me, and it'll be good. And I'll go to sit down. I will briefly look down at my like jester's clothing and be like, what the heck? But yeah, I'll sit down and yeah, I'm ready.
She's introduced herself. Presumably she knows you, but the kind of the floor, the talking stick has passed.
Yes, well, time is an interesting one, isn't it? We may not have quite as much time as anticipated, or time in the sense that you understand it, which I suppose is a long view. But dreams have proven useful thus far to us, and I expect we can prove useful to you.
We have considered using dreams to find information that would otherwise be hidden. We have not attempted such a thing thus far, but...
Well, I have solo, but not... It would be better if we could do it all together, really.
You are eager to share your secrets, and quick to abandon caution. I stand before you, a creature freed from aeon slumber, from a world long ago. I was tortured at the hands of the people you delivered me to, and you would let me know what you intend to do. You would speak of walking in my dreaming space and accomplishing what I can do with ease.
Forgive me, Mom, but
Your dreaming space, not necessarily.
Also, forgive me, Mom, but you've come to us, and you haven't made any threatening advances thus far. If anything, you have been a model of respect. So, forgive me for saying so, but unless you intend us harm, there's no reason for us not to trust you.
And
Again,
we don't have
working
aeons.
on the basis Carter thinks this person is a figure of authority. Maybe in real life there'd be a different thing, but the vibe in the dream with everything is just like, you're our spirit. You haven't tried to kill us. It's fine.
Also, we don't have aeons. You speak of aeons. We don't have that. There is a degree of caution that simply it cannot be approached when your time is potentially extremely limited. And
there is a tactical advantage to taking one's time. There's also a tactical advantage sometimes jumping in feet first and working it out as you go. It really depends on how dangerous your situation is. If the immediate is to get blown up and your option is to jump off a cliff to save yourself, well, sometimes you just need to go without thinking. So.
She takes all this in.
We kind of agree with you on the people that we delivered you to. They're not great.
She takes all this in, and she's kind of, once again, the room sort of very much echoes her, at least presented emotions, sort of darkened as she was saying this, and it holds that state for a beat. And then as it begins to settle, she says, "Spies and deceivers you are not. You're people of action, and that you would at least allow me to speak with you on equal terms is appreciated. I've looked for kind like you, and I'm afraid to say I have found little. People are quick to act, quick to lie, and quick to hold their secrets to their heart. Everyone has ulterior motives, and everyone is making mistakes. You're right. You do not have aeons. People seek your people's extinction, and although I would see my home returned, I would not see your persons eradicated."
You have time, right?
I have time. You do not.
You can afford to wait. Wait us out, that is. So eradication isn't really going to be the priority.
You misunderstand. I do not want to see you expire. I do not want to see you fade. Long ago, when the Empire was still in its second phase and the sun had not yet set, your people began to rise. There were factions, even then, those that sought to enslave you all, but truth being, you're too weak and there are better suited to the purpose. There were those that sought to wipe you like vermin from the globe. And truth be told, they made a case. It would be ours again, and we could fight our other, more formidable foes. I was of a third mind. This is our home, but it is yours too. We are two separate species, but in time, we could be one. More powerful together than we were separate, and with our might united, twisted round the staff, and she plunges the thing with the sort of like the catus ace, the serpents nested around it, we would be far more formidable. Already, each one of you have taken steps to welcoming the power of the serpent into your human body. I would see us go further. I would see a hybrid nation where every one of our kind is a portion of the other. And together, we would rise Mu once more and see the globe return to its true potential and power.
I mean, I would, if I may speak freely, Mom. That all sounds well and good. I see no issue with hybridization as long as each gets the choice. If someone wishes to remain one or the other, they should not be punished for doing so. As you say, you have aeons. If only a few folk take the option and they are, in fact, longer lived, hardier, that sort of thing, eventually it is likely that hybridization will be the end goal, but I don't know that forcing people to make change where they do not wish to is the most tactically advantageous decision. If you are willing to allow people to take their time, I see no reason why that plan would be unsuccessful.
You've had your agency taken away from you, and it's not ideal, correct? Same vibes.
I'm rather pleased with the experiments that the agency has been so kind as to allow me to undergo, but there are certain elements of it that are progressing faster than I was anticipating, and I do not feel like I have complete control or say in the matter. I'm wondering... I have concerns that these experiments are, shall we say, not as well considered. They are experiments, they are not things that are known. So, speaking personally, it would have been nice to know the extent of the decision I was making prior to making it. I have accepted that this was the nature of the experimentation at this point, but had I known going in, perhaps my choice would have been different. And if I was a different person and less...
single-minded.
Aligned. But yes, single-minded and aligned with the agency. I perhaps would resent it more. I don't, because I believe in what we're doing.
Hubert, what do you say?
Yeah. Hubert's staying a little bit quiet, but I think he kind of was like, all right, we're listening. Then the nation of hybrid, okay, and then sort of just immediately went, yeah, now they're evil. Yeah, cool, great. No, and then
zoned out for the rest of it.
We're going along with the plan, so we can. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay, they'll explain this later to me why better stay stern. But I think if this serpent person's any good at psychology, there's a lot of
It's like, just internally screaming.
Hi, supervillain.
Okay, so you sort of nod along, but internally go, and just start to think about what you're gonna have for lunch tomorrow.
I'm starting to think about this person has had aeons to prepare, and they haven't gone very good at it. If we caught up with them this quickly, we can probably smash them into the table that we're so fond of creating.
Hell yeah. Well, then Carter, as you're responding, and you talk about your own hybridization and the the risks of or the desire that at least people be offered a choice. She holds her two arms aloft in sort of like the archetypal zombie pose, and as these long billowing sleeves seem to fill with a million tiny people that begin to pour out of them in a deluge, flooding across the ground and spilling out, tumbling over one another, fighting and biting as they spill to the floor, and then eventually settling as she whips them back up, and all of them stand almost to attention. She parts her arms slightly, almost like, moving the Red Sea, and dots begin to appear amongst them as small flares of light transform individual human-looking things into serpent persons. She says, there are thousands of serpent persons scattered across the globe, and when the continent rises again, and rise it shall, they will return to their home. And the serpents move across and separate. But consider what will happen to your people, given the option to retain the current position of power that they have, the ability to wrestle the resources from this newly risen continent. Do you think they will not take it? If we ask them to be allies, they will say no, and they will fight. Your people will have
yes,
numbers.
and then they'll fight. Let's be honest. We've seen how this goes in the past. They'll say yes, and then they'll fight anyway.
They will die. Our people have advanced technologies stored on our old continent that once returned to us will give us the ability to eradicate your people, and there are many in my kind that would see that done. Understand, I am the minority. I may well be the sole person still willing to meet with your people. This is the only means by which you are not either subjugated or eradicated. Become one, help us to rise our lost continent and usher in a new age of peace and power, or find that there will be a greater war than this planet has seen in ages before you even existed.
Can't do anything without your crown though, can you?
The crown is not the only thing needed, but it is important. I understand that you are willing to share your secrets quickly. I am not. The crown is important, and I will find it in time, and through it I will wrestle open the gates and return to Mu, and once there, our technologies will be abundant, but where it is and its exact nature, I'll not share with you until I know that you are willing to do what must be done. This is the only time you will receive this offer. This is the only time the three of you, small but elevated above your peers, will make a decision. Do you save your race, or do you see it damned?
I have been involved. I've been in situations where I've put despots on thrones they didn't deserve. Here is the offer or trade I would make with you, Mom. Prove that you deserve. Prove that you deserve this throne, and I will aid you, for I do not wish to see another genocide. I was not part of genocide. I have had my fair share of being part of the situation that led to one. If you are indeed not a despot, if you are indeed deserving, then I see no reason not to help you. But as you hold your secrets close, I will hold my decision close until I can be certain that you are indeed deserving and not yet another despot destined to destroy a nation and kill its people.
As Carter speaks and kind of takes control of the dialogue, the space shifts again, and it's an equal part your control as it is Tyrannis's, and the floor begins to fall away into darkness, and at its base are writhing serpents. Tyrannis herself remains on a raised column in the center of it, with once again a sort of spotlight drop down on her, and she looks around as if addressing an auditorium of Roman senators. The three of you are raised up on podiums yourselves, dotted around the side of this massive space with a huge distance from one another, as if isolated and alone. And one at a time, like stepping up to address the United Nations, a light clicks onto you, and you sort of have your time to speak as Tyrannis in the center looks around at each of you to hear your concerns and address them in turn. Carter speaks, and then as light clicks back off, it will find another of the two of you to talk as well before Tyrannis addresses your collected concerns. It seems to be to get a sense of your current stance on things. The physical distance between you very much seems to be isolating you and trying to get, individual opinions rather than allowing you a chance to talk as a group.
Can I try and do something about that? Can I try and get us all onto the one podium?
Yes.
Can I try and step and go from where I am to where Hubert is to where Carter is with all of us and get us all together?
You can. This is going to be a parallel, but before you do, what I want to know is, are your desires mirrored? Carter and Hubert, first of all, do you kind of all internally think that you're all on the same page? You all think that ultimately we have the same goal? That's the first question. And secondly, do you think that you want the strength in numbers at the moment? This might upset the balance a little bit, or do you see this as just rewriting it? She's a powerful figure. We are together strong, but isolated weak. Like, are you like, well, there's none of that. We don't want you isolating us to weaken us. Or do you see this as fair? We will be spoken to independently. Like, kind of, is everyone willing to be grouped together? Even subconsciously. And I think that's where this decision is.
Speaking of Hubert, I think that he is trusting to a fault of his companions and is very happy to be grouped with them.
Yeah.
From Minnie's perspective, it's this separation was done by this being, and if we are going to stand separately in our opinions, that's going to be our choice.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't get to make those changes and those decisions for us.
Yeah, hell yeah. Carter?
Understanding that Carter has quite an independent spirit, but at the same time, no, we stand together until we decide otherwise.
Yeah, I think that is a reasonable line to take. Is it's not that Carter's very independent of thought and expects independence of thought, but also expects people to follow orders. That's following orders does not mean you can't have independent thought. It just means that you express that independent thought in manners that are appropriate. And so just because we all stand together does not mean we are incapable of speaking independently. And standing together is what a unit does. An army is together, a unit is together. Even if someone is in charge, they are only in charge for as long as their unit agrees to allow them to be in charge. Mm-hmm. While there are ramifications for what is essentially mutiny, at least at the time, if everyone under a sergeant is like, no, fuck you and all of your orders because you're bad at your job and you're gonna get us all killed, there is, there are always more at the bottom than there are at the top. And if the bottom ever realizes that, then, we
haven't decided that she's in charge. We haven't made that choice yet.
Okay.
I think Carter's thing is very much, you're a serpent, but prove to me you're not a snake. And the best way to do that is to allow us to speak to you as equals. And equals in this situation is us together not against, but us together and you together are units of comparison.
Different sides.
You are asking us as a group, breaking us into individuals to undermine our group decision is to try and break apart a unit, and that is not what one does. So, in a very long-winded way, prove to me you're not a snake.
If Minnie is about to try and unite us then via some kind of dreamcraft, I'm very happy to jump in, and Hubert can be talking for a minute or two, and then straight to.
I dig it. Yeah, that's awesome, because these things always happen. Dreams always change when you're not looking, so it's kind of as Hubert steps forward, I think the place will shift around you. So yeah, Hubert, why don't you go ahead and make your response as Minnie prepares, and then we'll make hers.
Well, there's a fourth option, right? What, aren't things working just the way they are? Right? I mean, you said there's thousands of serpent people everywhere. That seems like an equilibrium. We're living, you're living. Why don't just not rise, moo?
She pauses and then says, "My people are living in hiding. They are scattered and cannot unite nor bear their true forms for fear of eradication. My home is lost, stripped from us, and hidden far away. There lies our heritage. It is gone. No. To continue as it is not an option."
You take our heritage from us if you force us to change. You rise that up. We'll race you to those weapons, and we'll get there first.
Hell yeah. Hubert makes a strong stance, and Minnie, you bring them all together. Can you make this is a power roll? This is going to be hard. Not only because you're kind of wrestling with another person's space at the moment, but also because Carter and Hubert have kind of presented fairly differing pitches so far. So uniting everyone on the same platform is, yeah, I agree, but currently everyone's not exactly on the same page, I don't think. Go ahead and make a power roll for me, please.
On the same page about not being...
Not just immediately agreeing. Yes. That's what
no one is immediately rolling over, and that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Carter's implication is definitely you can't force people to do this. You can't force this, but if you offer it and there is a harmony,
I get you.
By all means, yeah.
I get you.
Hubert's just a little bit more no.
Yeah, I think, just before you lock at Minnie, I will say, this is, you're going to bring everyone together. I'm just going to say that it's not exactly as you want. You'll get the group together, but it's going to be a little bit different.
No, I'm happy to lock it.
Okay.
I want this to work.
Okay. Yeah. All right. When Minnie steps forward to the stage, there is a single light now shining down on the three of you, with Minnie standing in the center, and Hubert and Carter flanking her on either side.
Well, and now you see the difference, right? You say this is a one-time offer that we have to accept right now to join you and agree on behalf of our entire species to create hybrids and go to war and help your people, and that is a very large decision. You say that we are elevated above our peers, and I don't think any of us would agree with that. I don't think this is a decision that we can make on behalf of our entire race, and I think what you're seeing is what our strength really is, right? We have differing opinions and the ability to collaborate, and we don't need pharaohs. We don't need people like you just telling us exactly what to do as a whole species. We don't need cosmic wars and factions that are trying to wipe out an entire species. But at the same time, we're not going to discount you out of hand, but telling us that we have to make this decision right now in a dream while you were trying to divide us is not going to work. We need time. As Carter said, we need to know that we can indeed trust you on this, because creatures lie, creatures dissemble, creatures go back on their word. We need to know that you're not going to do that. And as Hubert said, we're not entirely without our strengths, because your people are hidden and forced to hide your true forms. And if we were weak and useless, we wouldn't have been able to do that, would we? So we're not any of the things that you have told us we are. But that doesn't mean we're not going to help you. We're just not going to decide right now. We can work together without any kind of ultimatum. Or we can not work together, and that's, I suppose, your choice to make now.
You do not understand the times you are in. The
Correct.
others are close. They
And we're not going to understand today either.
But you must. You do not. There is no time for
I
further
think I do
discussion.
understand.
There is. Understand, they are seeking the crown presently. Mu will rise in a matter of weeks, if not days. I am extending to you the single branch that you will be passed. If they are to arrive first, your entire kind will be enslaved. If the other faction is to reach their destination, then you will find yourselves eradicated. You will not have a moment to consider.
So, why are you asking us then? Why do you need our help? If you need our help and we need your help, then there is going to be a compromise reached. If you don't care either way, why are you here?
Because I would not see your kind eradicated. I am here to help. I see a union between our twin peoples.
And that's not our choice to make.
I think this might actually... No, I think I do understand. We are in a Cold War. It hasn't officially kicked off yet, but it's happening. There are two factions, both at odds, but both of those factions, should they get what they desire, will result in the eradication of our species in one way or another. You are offering an option in which we are not eradicated, but the reason you're offering it. The reason you are offering that is because you do not wish to see our kind eradicated for whatever reasons that is, and I assume you will keep those reasons to yourself for the time being. And you also do not wish your people to be subjugated and in hiding. I suspect there is, in fact, as Mr. Smith pointed out, a fourth option. I'm not saying it's an easy option, but it is one in which those who wish to live as humans may live as humans, those who wish to live as serpents may live as serpents, and those who wish to hybridize may do so. But no one form of person or the other is considered superior. They are just different kinds of people, because perhaps this is something that your kind is not quite as familiar with as a concept, but humanity is quite diverse, and we do better when we embrace diversity than when we try to eradicate it. What you're suggesting by hybridization is an eradication of diversity. I would like to see us embrace that. I think that is an option that, while it may not be easy, certainly results in a lot less war, and a lot less death, and a lot less pain in the long term. What say you to that, Mom?
You children have not had the time to study your own actions. I have woken and I have looked at what you have wrought on my beloved plane. There has been countless wars, and diversity has been the excuse for every one. Together, strong. Separate, weak. That is the only option, and this is the only time it will be presented. You wanted to know why I should lead? Because I have the power and the ability to. Look amongst the three of you. You see here the weakness of voting and being equals. You cannot make a decision for your own place, your own people, and for that, they are doomed. You must find a leader.
So you don't want our help finding the crown, then?
I do not need it. I came here to offer you a chance of survival. This is not a place to state terms. This is a place to say thank you and how may I be of assistance.
We don't need your help, actually.
I think we're done here, don't you?
Mom?
You do not want to be done here. You are in my domain as long as you lie in dream. And even when you wake, I will hunt you wherever you are. You,
I
think we're out.
Power them.
I'm just gonna like shrug it.
I go.
I think we're done.
Actually, Mom, I think you'll find you're in my home now. And I'm going to fire 3 times into the center of it.
Terrifying image of this monstrous thing leaning over. That's pretty fucking.
And Hubert, you've had suspicions throughout the whole thing. As it gets to this point, you feel true madness behind her eyes. You can't lie that long just only traversing dream. There was truth in it somewhere, and there was but there behind all that, there is something really broken.
Whatever it is, there's also really freaking scary, danger, threatening.
Bad vibes. Okay, bad vibes. Can I? Is there any way that I can lend power to Ares' dream shots?
Oh, I'm going to suggest it's going to be a power roll, and you are opposing Tyrannis. So I would suggest you all work together. So if you're going to choose one of you to try, and I need an objective. Are you going for escape? Are you going for eviction? No. What is your strategy here?
We're shooting her.
I did explicitly say you are in my house now.
I understand.
And you are no longer welcome.
She doesn't have a physical form. She has a physical form here, but this is as much a,
Yes. This is a mind shoot.
In terms of the shooting to like injure her, are we thinking like you
expulsion.
Get out? This is ours.
No, it's ejection. It is. You are no longer welcome in my house. Get out. Okay. And because Ares, we've established Ares' house is their fortress. They are like their physical house is protected. They have safes. They have like locks. They have things that protect them physically. This is a representation mentally of that. Because I think there is also with the dreams are a lot less intense than one would expect. Ares absolutely has PTSD. It's just that they have found ways to push that down and keep that under wraps. They are incredibly competent because they've learned ways of managing. So this is essentially an extension of you are trying to disrupt the serenity of my mind. I cannot do what I need to do unless my mind is serene. Get the fuck out.
I'll
and I would love what fires out is not bullets. They are bullet shaped. They are the same viscous liquid of the pool.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. You are going to make an opposed power roll with Tyrannis. You can take a bonus dice because, as stated, this did begin in your dream, but now it has been turned into something other. So go ahead and roll, and I will tell you, Tyrannis has a quite significant power, and she also takes a bonus dice because the place of dream is one she has trod for years.
Okay,
Can I say quickly? So
I'm doing this because it's my dream.
It's your dream. You're taking the first action.
Yeah. Oh, when it matters
bonus
most.
Dice.
Oh!
Do you want to turn that into an extreme?
Oh, yeah, I would turn that into a crit if you'd let me, but I don't think I can.
You can definitely take the extreme. Let's hold it.
That's 5 points?
Yep. Nicely done. Okay.
Well, that's good because I had enough to make a failure in extreme. I had 71 points of luck that I was going to burn in full if I needed to.
Places for it.
This is the one.
My home. You are in my house now, and my house is well protected from everything that would try to get at me. If on an extreme, Ares doesn't fire. Ares holds up a gun, and the shadow of a figure that looks an awful lot like Ares, but maybe half a head taller and definitely mask, pulls out a rifle and shoots this creature center mass as my brother comes to help me.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so sick.
And the reason that like the little note that would be like, this is the brother, is you would see that same Victoria cross on the chest. There is no face. It's like a memory of a memory. But there is a little like shining like cross that is very visible and very crystal clear, because that's about the only memory Ares really has.
Hell yes. That rules. Okay, so I'm still gonna roll. You will win this, even with an extreme. You've got the victory because you were instigated. She's effectively trying to oppose you. but I'm going to do it to show you a sense of Tyrannis' power.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure this creature has power of ridiculous.
And she'll
That's
go
right.
ahead.
I've got 90. That's a
There's space where Minnie gets up to play in the same space. That is a 28. That is also, I believe, if not an extreme, close to one. But Carter,
it's defense.
probably underestimated by Tyrannis, is able...
It's not 25, is 125 divided by 5. So it is only a
It's
hard
just off.
success.
It's only a hard.
Well, fortunately, characters, even large bosses in Pulp Cthulhu have luck. But as said, she's not going to be able to beat you on this one. And you are able to send her sprawling from your own house. As she rises up, she gets taller and longer. She begins to sort of, reach so that she buffets against the head of the whole thing, and her arms reach around. She was directing her one arm out towards Hubert and telling him to devour the others. And for a moment, Hubert, you felt something beginning to plunge into your mind, even in dream. Suddenly, this is cold reality, and you can feel something being just sort of like seize along your muscles and almost send you sort of straight towards the others. But Ares is able to fire these like black splotches of blood and ichor that surrounds the creature and send her rolling back. And then, whether she has chosen it or whether she was sent plunging, she falls into one of the crevices between things and slips out of the dream and away. Jim?
Right.
Is it possible for, considering that she was reaching out, for me to do something where I can, track that pathway? It would be great to have a way to find, because we still don't necessarily have a target about where we're
Can
going.
we put a beacon on her?
Would I get a loose thought or isolate something? Or maybe if she just fades through that gap and slips into another dream, can I be Huberto the tracker again and try and find out where?
Yeah, you can try and track her. There's a risk to it, but you absolutely can. Do you want to go on ahead and give me, James, so I can see a power roll when she tried to reach into your mind, and that you try and send a little bit of yourself into hers and just have a little bit of a swirl around. Alternatively, you could just roll a more traditional skill check to see if maybe you recognize something about how she's presented, or maybe if something slipped her, or generally just track to try and follow her from here into the next dream and get a sense for things.
I'll go with power unless you would let me push. I think navigate is the only thing I might try otherwise, sort of a sense of trying to get a location.
I don't hate navigate. This is going to be hard, but yeah, I think
if I just get like a single a breath of fresh air and I can guess at this into like figuring out exactly.
Nice.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. That is a success. I will give you some luck to make it a hard.
4 points. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, you get a sense from it. As she slips back into the other dream, you're the closest to it, and you hear a flash. Here's the thing. She was not asleep where she is. She is able to basically, even in like brief stints, send herself in and keep tabs on things and track others, basically by similar to meditating to how Minnie has done. And where you hear it coming through, there is a scent of heavy spices, and you hear the blare of traffic and the call of hawkers, and you don't know where exactly, but you believe this to be somewhere in India or somewhere similar as where she presently is. And she has slipped from that.
Holy shit.
Did you want to clarify something?
India is a very large place.
It is.
I was just going to say...
Now you just narrow it down to the entire chunk of it.
The entire
just the entire southeast.
It is, but it's enough for Minnie, I think.
Yeah.
We've got there.
We've got
what I was actually gonna say was, you said that she slipped between. Is it possible that part of the reason that Hubert is able to track her at all is that as part of the being shot into Ares' dream, we've established the way that people move between these bits of Ares' dream is through weird pools of blood. Is essentially Ares uses those like blood bullets to sort of like suck her into one of those and shunt her out, and that leaves like a bit of a trail to follow. Is that narratively
Absolutely. And they're able to like hold the gap open just long enough to Hubert to get a sense of what lies beyond before it seals back shut. The space you're in darkens as if drained of a huge amount of power, which it was, and now it is just black, except for the tiny spotlight that surrounds just the three of you and the sort of podium that you were talking into.
The shadow's still there, just for a little bit.
It didn't go as planned, but it was certainly enlightening.
I really don't like snakes. They're all.
I know.
And I don't want to sound too much like the snake people trying to kill everyone, but any one of them who tries to get that technology in Moo or whatever, we got to get rid of them.
Oh, we do. Oh, we definitely do.
Mr. Smith, you do know I am turning into a snake, yes?
Oh,
but are you trying to get the weapons to eradicate an entire species of people?
Well, only an entire species of snakes. And no, I'm not. I'm not planning on genocide of any kind. That's
Exactly.
I decided quite a while ago there wasn't enough money in the world to pay me to do that.
You're still you. We have bits of things, and we've made decisions that we had to achieve our goals and save people, but we're still us. We're not. We're not turning into anyone else.
We are currently, Dave, for dream purposes, we are in a comfortable, warm. We're around like a campfire on a couple of logs. It's a little bit reminiscent of the summer camp. It's also got the smell of like a jungle, like it's a little bit of both. And the sort of shadow figure of their brother is standing kind of near them, not quite in the, like they wouldn't be able to be seen. Their features are not visible by the light of the fire. They are outside in the sort of penumbra, so you would only really be able to see a shape, but they are still very much there.
Yes.
Just for visual of what we're sitting around while we have this discussion is a sort of comfortable campfire.
I got a flash of something when she was leaving. Some kind of, I think I went through part of India when I was younger, and I thought I heard some. If I had to make a bet, she doesn't sound like she gets along well with anybody that we know and any of the factions that we know. I reckon we can find her. We look to India. We look for ancient snake legends, and we look for areas where there's no presence from any of the factions we know. Maybe somewhere where Caduceus will probably have a hand in this, because Caduceus has been tracking her. If we can find where Caduceus is, suddenly setting up shop, new aid programs.
If they've had success. But I think temples. I think temples and worship is probably a good place to start.
Temples
I think you're right
and
on
worship
that.
and Caduceus, yes. What are we going to do about Caduceus?
Well, they're not allies, are they?
No, but do we continue to pretend that they are?
I think yes, because with what she was saying, this is escalating, and there are going to be, at the very least, Caduceus don't want the human race wiped out. So they're going to use their intelligence to try and stop that. They know where to go in ways that we don't. I think yes.
The other thing is that we've already seen that Caduceus is very willing to eradicate people.
Innocent.
Yeah. I think that there's a good chance that, to not be the complete hypocrite, if they got a hold of those weapons on Moo, they might, kill the humans to try and wipe out all the snakes. But, yeah.
I don't think they should get them either.
We probably don't want them to get that either.
No, I think ideally we make sure that door never opens and never can open.
Yes, I think that's probably more where I was leaning is, I don't think Moo should be something that that is locatable at all. If there's a way for us to get rid of that altogether.
Just take that possibility off the board entirely, and that's why I think we still need to be pretending to be on side with Chaosium, because they will be looking for this for their own purposes.
So is the next step
spraying the device, and we need to get to wherever it's going to rise.
Well, yes. Yes, we have to rang it.
Or we just somehow get rid of any evidence that it was there at all, but yes. Regardless, that does then mean that our next step is to re-ingratiate ourselves with Caduceus. We want to try and ensure that they trust us at least enough to continue sending us on missions, unless we wish to try and track them sort of from the shadows, which I don't think
I don't know how well we would go with that.
If we want to get information from them.
I was kind of leaning the other way. I was thinking that even if we get them to trust us, there's like an end game where we're going to have to come up against them eventually. And I don't know. Maybe
I know, but that's an end game. That is an end game, and I think we can worry about that later. And I still think that the mob can be an ally in that.
I think that Caduceus, Moo and the Serpent people are the battle. Caduceus is the war. We don't need to face winning a war until we've won a few more battles first, and they are helpful allies in those battles at the moment.
That said, their
knowledge is useful.
For the first time, we have some information that others kind of don't. Which is the India lead. We
keep that close.
So, and we have also the Caduceus facility that's hidden that we know about. I reckon we hit those two things, and then we make a decision based off what we find there. That seems to be the next one.
Right. You know that if we are discovered doing that, there is absolutely no way that we can turn around to Caduceus and pretend that we're doing it in aid of what they are doing.
So we don't get caught. So we don't get discovered.
And
so we are...
Yeah, then, because that one, we can have gone to ground for longer. We don't necessarily... Caduceus won't necessarily know where we are, what we're doing.
To India.
I like that lead.
I like it.
All right. Yes. I see we have information. We have things that we can look into further. India seems like not a terrible idea. I would like to confirm that Caduceus has operations in India before we head there. If they do, there is a chance they already know some of the intel we know, or at least they suspect, and we need to know whether or not we're going to need to dodge Caduceus agents while we're there. If they're not there, then we know for certain that we have something they don't, which means that should we be able to go and get information and decide we want them on our side, we have something very, very potent to offer them.
And potentially, if they are there, this could be a way for us to make contact and sort of prove ourselves good, you know?
Well, yes, we can use them. I wonder, them being an aid organization and whatnot, I wonder if Sam has any contacts in the area in hospitals and that sort of thing, and can ask around and see if the front is fronting up.
I do believe we ran into each other in India once. It was a while ago now, but stumbled across each other as we would want to do before right now. I think he was planning on trying to take his flying machine up Himalayas area and see if it would work in high altitude. I don't know if he ever got around to it, but...
it's done okay with mountains so far. You do know that we're all still dreaming and asleep, right?
Yeah, by the way, what do you know about jousting?
Oh...
I say that and imagine the jingle then plays.
I think when you say we're all still dreaming, I think what happens for Ares at that point is there's a disconnection, and Ares sort of filters out and away, and then it's just them and the shadow and the campfire. And for Ares' portion of it, it will just be a thank you, Leslie. It's nice to see you. And then the dream sort of filters out, and there will be very little.
No more dream.
But to answer what LP stood for, one of them, Leslie.
Minnie and Hubert heading off.
I think I would ferry Hubert back to his own medieval paradise, and then awaken myself.
As the two of you head out of Carter's dream and back into the neutral space between. It's returned to that sort of blank state. There's no sign of stars, not for the moment. But as the two of you, walk along and stop before Hubert's door, you're kind of struck by how recognizable it is and how easily you traveled to it. There's little just stopping Tyrannis returning into the dreams and continuing to look through them. Also from doing some real damage inside there.
Yeah.
And as the elevator sort of
something out.
begins to lower, you do not feel this is a safe place.
No.
So I wanted to do a little note of maybe a change of attitude, which may or may not end up affecting if she returns. But as you drop me off, maybe there's a flash of, as I step out of the elevator and say goodbye, flash through the doors. You can see that all the sort of like happy Ren Fair people are like building barricades now, because I think Hubert's set very much like, we got to kill some snakes.
Hell yes.
So hopefully there's that big Black Knight guy, and maybe working with like a battered up version of the Rose Knight that he whacked, and they're both like training, hitting a snake dummy or something.
Oh yes, that rules. Hubert is deposited back into his dream, and then Minnie, you slide back and walk through these blank and barren corridors to your own door. Remind me again, what is your entryway? Is it the opening to your apartment? The sort of the...
No, it ends up in my apartment, but I'd say it's two large double doors like you would find in a historic university library.
Hell yeah, that rules. You walk up to them and open them and return to your own dream. It's still your apartment, completely as you left it, but there's been no one here to change it, with the exception of the other occupant. And on the inside, it does seem as though it's squeezed in a little bit. Your bed bumps right up against the wall where it didn't used to previously. And you can't help but think that with this weakness in your mind, should Tyrannis find her way into your own dreams, with only a few broken locks and open doors, you would find yourself very much vulnerable to something else that already exists inside your headspace.
Right, well, we have to sort you out, don't we?
Ooh. Yeah. I'm not there.
Later.
I am.
Yes.
All right.
We'll have to sort some ATOS out.
With that, the three of you eventually will wake. And given there were some successful power rolls and the whole thing was fairly exciting, the gist of it remains. Minnie, you have a crystal clear recollection of it, as if you had walked through it and it had happened. Hubert, yours is the second strongest. You sort of, remember being fetched and having the conversation the most about. Carter, yours kind of comes to a head at like key points, key decisions, basically the decision to eject Tyrannis from mind, a feeling that something was lurking in there, and basically a sort of sense of invasion, genuinely, of something trying to creep inside your headspace. And then also the the lingering memory of the conversation with your friends and then with your brother that resolved the dream. When you wake, you will find Sam present and waiting for you, and much time has passed. It's morning. It's beginning to rise. From here,
I feel like dog shit. I didn't really sleep.
No, really did it. It's a fairly active way of resting. From here, you have a few decisions to make. Where you go next for one, who you trust for another, and if you're able to parlay the small scraps of information you have for something more tangible, such as a location or a goal. You are also aware of a vulnerability that exists every time you sleep, whereby something might slip inside and peer through your mind and dreams, seeking out memories, or possibly, and more sinisterly, making minute adjustments. You aren't fully aware of the scope of Tyrannis' power, but Carter, you got a feel for it when you pushed against them, and you kind of have the sense that, like, that, on a level, that was lucky, and that was because you were aware of it because of Minnie's assistance. You'll need to find a way to shore up your reserves and make sure that she can't just do that again.
Yeah, that's step one is brain fortressing.
And finally, time is of the essence. Other actors are moving, and the crown is being sought. People are seeking the rise of Mu, and you were told that this could be happening in so much as days or weeks. You may not have the time to finish the rest of your recovery, and it may be that the next place you go might stop you from being able to go to others.
Oh no!
Definitely start feeling. Yeah, this is
choices.
Jim hates.
Yeah, Jim hates that. Jim hates things ticking along.
Jim was just starting on the side quest for collecting all the badges at the campground, and now he's told that he can't come back. What the hell?
This is the choose your own adventure end phase where you can't skip to the back of the book and find the good one.
Oh yeah.
I suspect the most important two things we need to do is determine if Caduceus has any kind of outpost in India, and that is probably enough for us to go, let's go there. I don't think anything else is more important at the moment, as much as I would love to understand what's going on with the mob. I think we need, end of the world, kind of a little bit more important. And also taking the time to Brain Fortress. I think those are probably our two most important things. One of them, practice, the other one, direction. And once we have a sense of those, well, then we do what we do.
I think as well, the Brain Fortress thing is going to be like if we can't figure that out and then we go and do a different side quest, then she will absolutely bite us in the ass. Whereas if 100%. We do India right away and are able to sort of wrap her up, carpet and dump her into the ocean, kind of thing.
If we pursue those two leads, one of them we'll be able to resolve.
Problem. I'll play. Yeah. That sounds good. I think India is probably where I'm leaning, but we probably do a quick research burst and then either that or the Caduceus headquarters.
Well, depending on how long it takes us to get to India, we might have a fair amount of time to do our brain fortressing research and practice on the way. Especially, say we want to take a boat.
Yeah, which
I don't think we have time.
It probably would be boat. Would probably be the most.
I don't think that there is like plane flights.
We may have to break this one up a little.
Also, Sam has the ability for sort of fairly advanced technology now. He actually, with those spheres,
we have flying machines.
The spheres can be used to basically, I guess, presumably you need like less traditional propellant, so you could just sort of hover your way along towards us. So you might be able to actually fly and just.
We might be able to get across the ocean
a fair bit faster. Oh well, all this and more. Next time, I will park our session there and pick back up next week. We will have our delightful doctor return to us. Thank you all for playing, and thank you for everyone who tuned in.
Thank you, Dave.
Dankeschön.
Thank you for keeping.
We will be back in the same time, same place. No more time zones, and no more daylight savings. By the time we come back around, I will have stopped the practice worldwide. See you all in a week.
Thanks, everyone.
Park it there.